welcome to Black, Red, and Blue. I'm AJ, and I'm joined with Giant, as you see on the screen here. Steve, unfortunately, is away from the house, and he has to do this mobile. So please forgive any kind of audio discrepancies that we usually have. But the most important thing is for us to talk about this crazy game, right? I think everybody in St. Louis, this is probably the one time you would hear any St. Louisan say this, and that's it's okay to lose as long as we didn't lose too bad. In fact, Steve and I were talking earlier this week, and I had said, you know, Miami's such a good team. If we lost 3-1, I would be okay with it because I expected to lose by 1 or 2. I just didn't want to lose by 3-4, and I just also didn't want to get shut out. I mean, Miami is literally that video game team that you made as a kid where you basically were able to grab the best players and you just like steamroll the league. That's basically what the MLS did. But our team actually held up 3-3. Yeah, I was cheap, man. I mean, so let's start with you, Steve. Your quick hits, your quick overall thoughts about this game.
I am in sunny, hot Southern California. In fact, yesterday the high temp was 105 here. And even though it was as hot as it was, it felt hotter on the pitch because that game, like I think you and I talked, like we were okay with the idea of like losing, just don't get like blown out. And I don't know, it felt like it felt like a game where you don't like to say it's good to tie or it's okay to not win from a winning position. Like that's what the big knock has been on Kansas City all year is like they either lost or drawn so many games from a winning position, but like we got out of there with a draw. And my wife doesn't watch very many games. We sat there and all 5 of us watched this whole game. And I asked her thoughts, and she said, well, we didn't lose and we were against the best team, right? And I said, yeah. And she's like, that's okay. So a less than casual fan was okay with that game. And I am not one to blame the refs. I think I've been very consistent this year with stop blaming the refs. We have to go out there and perform. But it really felt like Chapman was really putting his thumb on the scale against us and for Miami, we'll say. And even with all that, we found a way to get out of it with a draw. And Messi and Suarez had their goals, and like, of course they're going to, and we got our goals from some unexpected people. So like, I think we had a more complete team. Tolman on the broadcast yesterday, I was very kind of irritated with him, but he kept saying like, St. Louis had multiple chances to get 4 goals, and we just didn't connect on them. And at the end of the day, it's like we got out with a draw, and I'm fine with that. Like, I feel like now we're on like a bit of an easier stretch coming in that we can kind of get our form. But like, what were your thoughts on like Klaus coming out and like staying with some real energy? Sam, when Klaus came out, it seemed like he really did change the whole energy of the team. What do you think?
Yeah, so speaking of Klaus, like anybody that's listened to us knows that we have defended Klaus quite a bit. And I was actually super disappointed because I thought everybody on the pitch was motivated. They were playing super hard. And unfortunately, Klaus just didn't look good. We have our survey that Steve posts for us every week, usually in the 80th minute. So if you guys haven't seen that, check it out. It's posted on the various Facebook groups. I thought people were going to put him as a wooden spoon, honestly, and one person did. Overwhelmingly, though, people put Thorson, which I actually kind of forgot he even played because he was such a non-factor. But going back to Klaus, I was watching a game with my father, and he was talking about Klaus, and he was like, what is Klaus doing? Like, he's not doing anything. He's not making runs. He even noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, Steve, that Leuven actually was yelling at Klaus for not making a run somewhere in the end of the first half. Like, it was that kind of bad. Like, I'm glad Leuven said something because maybe that's what Klaus needed. You know, kind of like how Berkey fires up the defense. Maybe we need that person to fire up Now, Sam came in, and I'm sure a lot of our city friends are probably like, oh, yeah, Sam, he's going to save us. But to be honest, I was actually disappointed with him, too. He was very athletic, but he had a few chances of making a play and score. He just didn't have that finishing, which has been something that we've dealt with all year long.
Yeah.
Is that what you saw as well?
Like, within the first couple of minutes of him coming in, like, it seemed like he had a big break, and like he had an opportunity to score and just didn't connect, just didn't take it. And that was kind of annoying. But like I messaged with you earlier in the game where after a couple of instances, Hawks seemed to be pouting. Hawks seemed to like throw his hands in the air, and it's like, that's not the energy I want to see from our DP. Like, so like I think you and I both were right. We've been defending Claus. Just wait. But it's like, man, how much more should we expect? Like, my son was asking me about Tucker coming in and whose spot is he going to take? I told him he's going to be an attacking mid. And he's like, yeah, but he plays striker. And it's like, is this eventually, could he challenge Claus for the 9? Like, I don't want to think that right now, but like, he's not really good right now. I mean, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that Klaus desperately seems like he wants to play that kind of false 9 role. So part of me wonders, should we put Klaus actually in that kind of 10-ish role and let Toiger, or however you say his name, play that true striker role?
Yeah, I mean, that, man, it's in such a weird turn from where we were. It's like we just kept hoping. And he had 4 shots in the first half. And one of those were kind of on target, and the rest were just kind of sprayed around. But, like, I'm looking at his spot mob scores now. And there were a couple of matches where he's been at 8.2 and 9, but he's been hovering on, like, 6 and 7 throughout this season. And I checked his people's rating, and he's, like, at a 76. Like, it's just not, right now, it's not connecting. And we've been waiting for Ruben to come back, and maybe that'll help. And maybe we just have to, maybe him and Ruben have to start getting it together again. And Celio out there. And I know we just keep saying, like, we just keep hoping, but yeah, he's just great. What did you, as someone with a medical, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, just to add on to that, I wanted to kind of mention about Klaus is that before, in the beginning part of the season, I felt like he had to come back and help kind of the midfield, bring the ball up and stuff like that. But the thing is that he has to let that go, because there was a lot of times where it did seem like he came back where he was trying to help out, but then it left nobody in the box, right? Like, if you're playing a 4-2-3-1 where the striker's up on top, you need that striker basically at the highest position, because there's no other striker up there. You know what I mean? So that's something if anybody watches this game back, I want you to take a look at that and just kind of follow Klaus and see where he is. I think they just need to tell him, hey, man, trust your team. Be the striker. Be that aggressive striker up top. Stop coming back. So,
I did notice that he was out of position quite a bit yesterday. And the announcers were making that comment too. Like, when the passers are coming in, he should have moved up a lot sooner. So maybe he is continuing to kind of sit back because he's not sure it's going to happen again. But he just really needs to trust his midfielders. But man, Lubin playing, what did he play? 80 minutes last night, 70 minutes. Looked really strong throughout that match. So
yeah, man.
Maybe at home next week against Portland, we'll see a full 90 out of him. He looked good the entire match.
Heck yeah, man. How scared were you when he went down in the left wing? That hard tackle, 10 minutes, 20 minutes in, whatever it was, and then he was rolling around like a bowling ball.
Yep. Yeah, that wasn't great, but he popped right back up. And then later in the match, he had that set piece, he had that free kick, and he just hit a laser just right over the net. Like, you can tell he is digging this.
Oh yeah, man, 100%.
Hey, so as someone with a medical history, when you see that hit, he goes down, and you see that knee pop in the other direction. What are your initial thoughts? Like, because when he went down, it was like no one was really sure at first, and then Apple replayed it and they showed it from the other side where you see his knee go in a direction it's not supposed to go, and then he's out. What are your thoughts long term? Without, of course,
Yeah,
knowing anything.
yeah, exactly. So when he went down, once he started pointing like right at the knee joint, I was like, oh my gosh, he probably tore something. That's like what I'm thinking. You could see that the trainers were basically doing the drawer test, which is where they basically have the knee at like a 90 degrees and you kind of pull it and push it back, the test for the ACL and PCL. I I didn't really see because they kind of went away and went to like a different screen. I didn't really see that movement forward, so I don't know if the ACL is okay. But like I said, they cut away from it too quick. But on the replay that you're mentioning, it looks like his knee went medial, so like to the inside. So I'm kind of wondering if he possibly tore like an MCL or something like that, like something, one of the side ligaments. It just, the knee shouldn't really make that kind of movement. So I'm not optimistic. I think he's probably going to be out potentially for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that was my initial thought too. Was like, um, it's that doesn't look good at all. Especially when you got a player that just comes right off. So we've got a player that went off, and then his replacement came on, and we've seen this guy, but we haven't seen him in significant minutes since the Houston match earlier in the season. And what were your thoughts on Kojima when he first came in, and then when you saw him at the end of the game? So when he first comes on, what were your initial thoughts? And then when the game ended, what did you feel? Did it change from the beginning when you saw him until the end, or were you like, wow, there's a big difference? So initial thoughts, end of game thoughts.
That's a great question. Because when he first came in for Alm, I'm like, frick, we have no chance now. Like, we lost Alm, and who's going to replace him? And I'm like, this is going to be horrible. Like, this is like the worst case, well, almost worst case scenario, right? If Leuven actually got hurt, that would have been like horrible, or Berkey. So like, I'm just like, I have not been a huge Kojima fan, except for his like one goal, because I don't think he made a lot of difference throughout the season. But he also, like you had said, he had short time to really get into the game, so it's really hard to judge somebody. My father actually has said, oh yeah, he's kind of like Kojima this whole season. So, but this is the first time we got to see him for 60 minutes, something like that. I thought he did amazing. To me, I think he puts a little bit of a fight for potential man of the match. Obviously, Berkey had some great saves. Vasiliev was killing it. Celio was making Messi's life just a living hell, essentially.
Oh my God.
And yes. Kojima, though, like constantly, you heard throughout the telecast, right? You kept on saying, oh, there goes Kojima, or Kojima gets the ball, or, whatever. Like, he was just all over them. He was playing, I don't know, like a career game kind of thing. And the only thing I will say is he was responsible for that bad pass that ended up leading to a goal. But still, overall, I thought he was, holy crap, amazing. Like, he really held that midfielder position. And what was surprising is they actually put him as that kind of structural number 10, which was something that kind of shocked me too. And honestly, Indy, as much as I like him to some extent, and he does a passable number 10 role, he is a much better right winger, in my opinion. So, kind of next week, by the way, kind of jumping on the lineup a little bit, I kind of want to see this again. I really want to see Kojima again up there, and then him being flanked by Celio and Indy.
Yeah, me too. So, when he first came on, like, I was a little nervous, especially when you're going from the skills of Alm down to Kojima, where he's been majorly on the City 2 team throughout the season. but like he made an immediate impact, didn't he? And then there were several plays where even the announcers were saying just how like he made this uh, uh running play. All of a sudden, he just caught up with the Miami player. Like he corrected a misposition he had, and he just made an amazing play.
That was against Messi,
and he really, yeah, he really seemed like the moment wasn't too big for him. And I think that's what we can expect from a young player like that. He's a rookie, and he went down and took on Messi. I was really thankful for that. Now, is he going to continue to get the starts? I don't know, but he did a really phenomenal job coming in and having to play for pretty much 60 minutes last night.
Yeah, I mean, every player that game was wanting to win against Messi once, whether it was a defensive move or offensive move or something. That run by Kojima, he basically went from box to box, and he slowed down Messi. And I can't remember who it was that actually got the ball and kicked it away, but that was all Kojima, man. That's a good point. Good catch, you know?
Yeah, he was the reason why Messi wasn't able to pass and score, because he slowed him down just that half a second to where he had to, kind of hold the ball, and then that was all it took. Yeah, I mean, I was really excited about his performance last night. Hey, let's talk real quick about a player that is pretty much being like just derided heavily by the St. Louis fans, Mark Cannon. What did you think of his performance last night? Because I saw some spots where he seemed to be a player that the moment was too big for. What are your thoughts on how Mark Cannon did last night?
You felt like it was too big for him? I don't know. I feel like defensively, I think you're right. So defensively, it felt like he was just hanging on. Offensively, though, I felt like he was a little bit better. I'm looking at his stats here.
Agree.
Accurate passes, 82%. That's about average for a soccer player, so that's not too bad.
Yeah.
He had 54 touches. Tackles 1, 2 out of 3. Clearances 1, interceptions 1, recoveries 2, dribble past 1. Duels, he was 56%. Aerial duels, he was 50%. So, I mean, I would say it was a passable job. Now, overall, his rating was a 62%, 6.2 on 5. So that's definitely not great. To give people an idea, that's definitely almost in the red. Not so good.
Yes.
But who else were you going to put in there? Hebert.
Sure.
I mean, I like Hebert, but Hebert's more of a good center back, to be honest.
Well, we're not going to have him for the next couple of weeks anyway.
Oh, yeah, because of him going to Canada.
He got called to Canada. And there was one of those offensive plays where Marcanic fell and it stopped the play, and he tried to get a foul out of that, which I was fine with, but it wasn't enough. But I think I've seen a lot of chatter where, it's, if you look on Facebook and Reddit and Twitter last night, basically anyone that wears Pomina on their chest, other than Ruben and Berkey, people were calling them to be never played again. Like, get rid of this bum. Everyone was a bum last night. And it's like, guys, who are we going to get? And one point that I saw a commentator make is left back is a very hard position to fill in soccer. And he's the best we got. And he's doing a decent job, and that's all we can expect from him right now. And that back line as a whole was not rated very well. Parker was out of position for a couple plays. May have led to that first Messi score.
No, I'm going to tell you why. So here I'm going to tell you why, real quick, why I don't think it actually led to his goal. So the thing is okay. the center back, right, is basically the last line of defense before you get to the goalie, right? So when you watch the center backs in general, if they get their choice of position, where it's going to be is right in front of the goalkeeper, so that basically you help clog up that space, and then also you help block the goal. The thing is he was chasing Messi, right? Outside of the box. So he was all the way outside box chasing Messi, and then Messi passed the ball. So now the ball has been passed. Now that gives Parker the chance to come back towards the net and play where the center back role is, right? It's now the responsibility, because think of it as more of a zone defense as opposed to man to man. Now it's the responsibility of the other people that basically cover that top of the box area where Messi was hanging out. And then that's where Messi was free. He made the shot, and instantly you saw Parker yelling. And that's because he's like, hey guys, I got to cover my spot. That was your responsibility.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So yeah. What about the guy that is basically saving our bacon for the last 2 seasons, Roman Burke? His play last night, like, those two, he had a couple of these blocks where it's like his big mid was the only reason why he probably didn't go down like by 2 goals. Like these amazing saves he made last night. Like he is still our champion. Like, it's bananas, right?
It's crazy because when Lutz and company basically got Berkey, and they basically paid him DP type of money, or at least TAM money, people around the league were like, what are we doing? What is St. Louis doing? Like, you need to spend money on strikers and attacking midfielders. They're spending on a goalkeeper? Why would you do that? Well, this is why, right? Like, he literally kept us in this game. Right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, no, and those plays were, oh my God, it's just amazing. So yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because, you know, what someone else had said online was that, yeah, he is an amazing player, but he's one of our highest paid players, and he had better be good for the money that we're paying him. But like, just watching him and seeing like this is what we get from our first goalkeeper in St. Louis was just phenomenal. You know, I felt that the play from the team overall was really good. We went against the cheat code, and we didn't come out and get embarrassed. Like, I think your thought was just don't get blown up by like 3 goals, and we left Fort Lauderdale with a point, which is what you can ask. That's the best you can ask for in the MLS. A lot of times is as a visiting team to leave at the point, and we did that, and that's great.
Yeah, and I don't want to be greedy, but there's going to be some legitimate arguments that say that we probably actually should have won that game. You know, because we actually had chances, because we talked about earlier with Sam having a few chances, and I forgot the other people who had chances in that late second half, but we actually had chances. I think it was Fastliv, if I recall, had one.
No, yeah, there were some really good passes that led to shots that just didn't happen. You know, I do think the referee having this kind of finger on the side of Miami kind of led to some definite fouls not being called on our side. We had so many fouls that should have been called that never were called, but they were always being called for the Barcelona boys. So as the best players, you're going to get those calls. I get that, but like, had some of those calls not gone away or gone away, probably would be a very different score. However, we've not been doing ourselves many favors, and we can't expect those calls. But again, left out of there with a draw, and got Portland coming in next week, who has been struggling as well. And I dare say that we can get a win pretty easily next week.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are conspiratorial right now that are saying that MLS is rigging this for Miami. And I don't think, just for legal reasons and other reasons, I don't think anybody in the MLS is saying, hey, call things Miami's way. Now, I could see them saying to the refs, hey, Miami is important, just make sure you don't miss the calls. You know,
right.
Maybe it's something in the middle.
Now that I can see is don't embarrass us by these calls go for against but yeah, a major team here. But I don't like the conspiracy theories of like they're in the tank for my. I mean, you're dealing with one of the best players of all time, who brought several of his long teammates who they've got this connection over years of experience, and they know how to play. Like I think Twelman has said it multiple times. Where how many times have Barcelona fans seen Messi to Suarez, and like it was just so easy. That goal, I just watched that goal, and the Messi goal, and like they just passed right to each other, knew exactly where each other was going to be. If you have that connection, you have that experience, you're gonna have success,
Sure.
and they're going to win a bunch of games. However, you have to remember they are going to have to take breaks. They're going to have their legs are going to be tired, and they are vulnerable. But you are seeing a once in a lifetime type performance from this kid. I bet there were plenty of players with plenty of fans in the '90s who would tell you that the referees in the NBA were in the pocket of Chicago. But like, think about how much experience that Bulls team had together, and the Lakers in the 2000s, and Miami in the late 2000s. Like, it's going to happen. You're going to have these dynastic teams that are. It just looks too easy, and you want to explain it away by saying that there's cheating involved. But which the fact is, like, they're just that good. They're just that good, and it's okay. It's okay. We did not lose against Miami. We did not lose against Messi.
But what about the onside offside call, right? Like the VAR hit,
right? No,
and basically he was called offsides, right? Or no, they were looking at if he was offsides. The issue that I have, and this is what I want to see what you think, is that a lot of people, because you can see exactly what the ref is seeing, right? And they basically have that really crappy view, which is from an angle, so it's not like in line to the field, so you don't lose that perspective, right? And you see the lines on the field, but it's not like these lines on the field are laser accurate, right? These are just guys that are mowing the grass that get somewhat close. Right. How did you feel about that onside offside call, though?
For me, he should have been offside. But the argument was that Marquinhos pulled him offside because he was so far behind. Like, up to him onside. It looked to me like it was clear as day it was offside. But, like you're saying, the lines aren't perfect. The referee didn't have probably the best line of sight. And if the call on field was he was onside, there has to be irrefutable evidence that he was offside. What be your thoughts?
I think MLS needs to do something if they want to be taken as a serious league. I don't think I know the Premier League has technology where they can draw lines on the field and they can actually use technology to see if these people are onside, offside. I don't think we need something like super crazy advanced, right? But I feel like they should have at least some cameras in the stadium that could assist in cases like this. Instead of just having the main camera and maybe a secondary camera, like why can't it be like the NFL where even if the broadcast doesn't have camera angles, there's other camera angles? And I think baseball does the same thing too for replays. Like they have access to other cameras that the TV doesn't necessarily have. Why can't we have that with soccer? How hard is it to just add a few more cameras? Okay, it might cost them $100,000 for the season. Worth it.
Right. As you were talking, my thought was, think about how long the Major League Baseball resisted using cameras, and cameras for like strikes and balls and strikes. And now they're using them. And now the game's going by much quicker and there's less controversy with the calls. And maybe now that MLS is really starting to pick up speed here, maybe it's time for them to look at what they've been doing and do the same thing, where now, you got all these new expansion teams coming in. You're actually attracting world-class talent, and now it's time to grow up. I think you're right. They need, like, the beginning of the season, all the talk was the fact that there's no goal line cameras. That should be the easiest damn thing. At the same time, enhance this where you're getting these goal line cameras, you're getting the offsides cameras, so that We don't have to. We can take the human element, the air out of it. Why not just take it out?
Yeah, we don't need the fancy computer technology like during that one women's game where the ball was just slightly over or whatever it was. Like, we just need a freaking camera. Why isn't there a camera on the goal line, like you said? Like, this is ridiculous. We're never going to be taken seriously if this kind of stuff doesn't change.
Right. It doesn't have to get to the level of the NFL where a tiny little speck of the ball is over the line that we're calling it out. It's like, yeah, not 2 feet, not 2 feet's difference. Let's go ahead and we can bridge that gap. We can get closer.
Agreed. Before we head back to vacation here, is there any major thoughts before we go, or maybe even going into the next game?
I think the major thought is I am glad that the team played well, and I'm really looking forward to see like the injury report on out and see how bad it is. Also, our boy AZ wasn't even on the bench last night. I don't know if you pick up on that or not. Like, he wasn't even available for a sub. So I wonder if they're actually kicking him down to C2 for a little bit. It's going to be interesting. Maybe we could do a next week, a preview for next week, so we can kind of get an idea of what the lineup's going to be. Because right now, it's just kind of all the way out there. Other than we're probably going to continue to do the 4-3-2 or 4-2-3-1, but like, what is that really going to look like? Now that we know Hebert is going to be going, is Marcanic going to be in there still? Where's Yaro? Is Yaro going to be able to come back? Like, where is he going to fit in? Coughlin was amazing. I will say that. I love watching.
He's always
Coughlin
amazing.
And Milson do their thing. It's so good to see these players playing like this. I think, like, for me, the final takeaway from this match is we held our own against the best. They had just lost against Miami or against Atlanta, and they were really looking to come in and be strong. And they're kind of a sloppy team. They're kind of a sloppy team who has the best players of all time that can get away with it.
Yeah, and I hope, because the players in their hearts were like, I just don't want to get embarrassed, right? I hope these guys now say, holy crap, maybe we're actually a pretty good team. And I hope this inspires them. So, on that note, Steve, I look forward to this next week's game. Thank you for everybody who was listening. Okay, well, on that note, all for City.
All right, baby.